What if I told you that your money you have in the bank is not truly your money? Or anything else that you think you own for that matter? What would you say to me? Would you think I was crazy? Well, just want to come to you briefly and open your eyes tonight to a truth that I discovered recently concerning all of this. And that is the fact that what you think is yours is not truly yours, and it's been becoming that way for some 30 years. The bankers, those within government, those within elite circles and financial institutions have been slowly and quietly changing the UCC code in each individual American state over the last 30 years to make it such that you and I and anyone who has, for say, money in the bank, in your bank account, or stocks and bonds that you might own through a retirement vehicle like a custodian, an IRA custodian. You may have retirement funds in a location like that. You may have even corporate holdings and real estate and so forth. Many of these things, though you traditionally you own them because they're in a bank account and they're yours and they have your name on them, what you didn't maybe know has been happening is for these last 30 odd years, they've been slowly and quietly changing the UCC code so that now you are no longer the primary owner of the asset. In the fine print, about 3 pages and 3 paragraphs down, you and I, as depositors of the assets, the money into the bank, or the assets, the stocks and bonds you may own in your retirement vehicle, you are now delegated or relegated down to just a third rate. You're number 3 in line, and you are just a lien holder. And the UCC code has been rewritten such that the actual owner of the asset is the banks themselves and their investors. And you remember in 2013 in Greece they had a big hoopla and a financial crash. And if you recall, at the time, they did what was called a bail-in, which means they took everybody who had money invested in the bank at that time took a haircut. The governments took the money from the depositors. Anyone who had money in the banks lost money. The government took their money. It's called a bail-in. Here in America, you remember the great financial crash of 2008. When that happened, we had in America what was called a bailout, and the U.S. government bailed out the companies and banks and institutions that were deemed too big to fail. Well, the government footed that bill. They printed the money. Actually, we all bore that bill through the cost of inflation, but that's another subject. Either way, the stage has been set and the words have been written in the fine print over the UCC code over these last several years, that now the next time we have a great financial crisis again in America, the next time we have another great financial crisis, you and I will potentially be the ones who have to bear that burden. They have now changed it to where the next time it will be a bail-in here in America. And many of us who have money on deposit in the bank or own assets like stocks and bonds in retirement vehicles, in IRAs and 401ks, we're going to lose out. We're going to lose out. They're going to take it. They're going to take it from you. It's called a bail-in. And they've been doing this quietly behind the scenes, and you and I just didn't know it. For further research on that, I want to tell you about a man named James Webb. I believe his full name is James Rogers Webb. Look him up. Look up his name or look up The Great Taking. He is a former hedge fund manager. He is from Wall Street. And this is how I know these things, is good men like him have come forth from the shadows having been in Wall Street and in the banking institutions, having been insiders, and they are exposing the great taking that has already been set up, and we're waiting for it to unfold. So look up James Webb, The Great Taking. Research that further if you don't believe me, but truly what you think you own may not be yours. And so what to do about this? Well, this is the day and time in which I think we must become responsible for ourselves. We are in a movement away from centralized power. We are moving into decentralization. We are breaking free of the centralized powers that have held control over us these many last 50, 60, 80 years. People are waking up. Now they're not letting go easily. They are fighting for control, even to the point of trying to control the internet with these recent reforms. And they'll continue. Those in power and with control that have had the power and control, they're going to keep initiating crises, trying to offer solutions that they pre-engineered, and they're going to keep on trying to regain a centralized power and gain more and more control. But in this time, it is a time in which you and I need to assume responsibility for our own financial future. You and I no longer need to depend on someone else to handle our money for us. You and I no longer need to, give it to our money man and just trust him to do right by us. Or just put your money in the bank and just leave all your money in the bank and just trust that it will be there when you go to get it, because it may not, brother, it may not be there. It may be taken in the next great financial crisis that we have. So this is one reason. And listen, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial expert. This is all for educational and informational purposes only. These are only my opinions. Do not make any financial decisions based on me, okay? By listening to this video, you admit that any decisions you make are your own judgment, and I am not responsible for that. But with that said, I think we need to take our finances into our own hands, and we need to become educated and informed about what is a good investment and what is not. And we need to take ownership of our assets, our cash, our money, whatever assets we have. We need to take personal ownership of that. And so therefore, this is why I like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the apex asset of the human race, according to Michael Saylor. And you can take it into personal custody, and you can have it, with 12 words memorized. You can be sovereign with that money, and no one can take it from you. There are other forms of currency like Monero that are more private than even Bitcoin is. And of course, there's always the old trusty fallbacks of gold and silver, bullets, guns, food, medicine, things that will be worth a lot in a fallen system or in a collapse. Bullets and guns and food never go out of style, and they always have value. But I want to encourage you tonight to begin to be your own man or woman and begin to educate yourself about the world you live in, because we're learning that no longer can we trust the institutions that we've trusted all these years. And people are waking up to that, and this is part of that. You are part of that movement. And videos like this are part of how that happens. So yeah, consider Bitcoin. Consider personal custody, taking ownership of your own assets into your own hands. Because you may wake up one day and find out you don't have what you thought you had. And I don't want that to happen to you or to me or to anyone that I know. So yeah, thank you for your time tonight, and we'll catch you on the next one.